Monoprice Retros. These are a budget pair of closed back headphones that are not really portable. By the way, I apologize if I sound terrible, but I'm currently sick. So, yeah, but you know, gotta release these. So, let's get this underway. I probably sound my best now that I have in like a couple of days. So, anyway, so what are these, right? Monoprice is a company that focuses on delivering budget products, right? They cut down on quality sometimes in order to deliver the best prices or similar performance to competitors, but at a lower cost, right? And that's what you have here with the Monoprice Retros. They said, let's build a closed back budget headphone, right? That would cost the user, the purchaser, the consumer, practically nothing, but they would enjoy it. It's something still very good. So, of course, I was intrigued and I said, well, gotta buy a pair of these. Let's see how good they sound. And I've been trying these out for quite a while now. I'd say probably about almost a week, more or less. And yeah, I've burnt these in quite, extensively. I've made sure to not listen to them immediately out of the box. And I waited, and well, here is what I found, right? Let's start with the build, as usual. So the build quality. This is not a detachable cable. It's not detachable whatsoever. It's a long cable. That is true. It's long, right? So you won't have any issues about it reaching areas or failing to reach other areas unless, you have your amp on one side of the football stadium and then you're sitting on the other side in the bleachers or something like that. This, what comes with a, 1/4 inch adapter so that you're able to plug this into an amp, which I recommend, by the way. Amping, it's not absolutely necessary, but it definitely makes these come alive. It definitely brings out the best qualities in them. But if you don't have an amp, if you're saving up for one, I understand. Just for these, if these are the last headphone you're going to get, or if these are the intended headphone for wherever it is you're going to be, just get a budget amp. Get one of those FiO DAC amps that are like $30, $40, or the FX Audio DAC X6, which is like $65, and it looks really nice, and it's a DAC amp, and it has so many inputs and stuff like that. Get something like that for this headphone. It's not going to cost you a whole lot, and it is going to bring out the maximum sound quality that these offer, right? So I do recommend that. Anyway, as far as the build quality goes, you can see here, it's a pretty cheap plastic. You see these and you don't think, well, oh, they're plastic, but it's high quality plastic. No, it's a cheap plastic. I'm not going to lie. There's nothing high quality about this plastic in any way. But then again, for the price you're paying, it's about on par. It's not disappointing for the price you're paying, but it's certainly not like, build of the century in any means. I will say I do like how decently they're engineered, right? Because you see this setup right here, this this tension, the headband, right? It reminds me a lot of AKG's headband, and AKG does a really good job of making comfortable headphones and engineering them. And the fact that Monoprice went the AKG route for their comfort it's definitely a +1 for me. It's okay, let's get to comfort here. All right. So these right here are the stock pads. These are the pads that come with the Retros, right? Are they good? They're a little subpar, if you ask me. Here's why. Like, you feel them with your fingers and, oh, they feel fine. Oh, they're spongy, whatever. But then you put them on your head and it's an entirely different story. It's just there is no comfort. There's no cushion whatsoever. And what I found is that they're so thin that they don't distribute pressure evenly amongst, you know, around the head or around the ear area, right? I found that here in the upper areas, it would rest more like, rather than resting like this, it would kind of rest a little more like this. So there's more area, there's more pressure up here, and then down here, there's a leak. There's a, you know, an open slit, which sound escapes from. And by the way, it does change the sound. Like if you would manually like just put them in place and not apply any pressure or anything, just as if you were putting them the way they were supposed to fit, they sound much better than they do with the stock pads because of that. Now, that could be because I have a large head. So keep this in mind. If you have a large head, you're going to want to do the following, which is what I pretty much recommend anyone anyway to begin with. These pads that are right here on the headphone already installed are the Brainwaves XL pleather pads. I didn't go for sheepskin because it's like, it's a budget headphone. You don't need sheepskin. You need, this is fine. This is fine. And they are fine because here's the difference that I found, right? The differences that I found in this headphone with the Brainwaves XL pads is comfort is miles better. Like you can totally wear these for hours and hours on end. Rather than with this, you can only wear them for like 30 minutes to an hour max until your head was just, you know, begging you to please take them off. I don't want these on the noggin. I don't want them, right? And on top of that, now they distribute the weight, the pressure evenly. No, there's no more slit. There's no more imbalance. Now it's just there, just straight. That's something I found pretty nice about these. So overall price of this, you know, combo purchase would be $30 for the headphones and $27 for the ear pads, the pads, the headphone pads, bringing you to about $57. I don't know. You might pay shipping, so let's just say 60 flat. 60 flat for, you know, this. Well, I'll get to it at the end. Jeez. Sorry, I really am sick, so my head's like kind of in this, but not really. Relax. I'm still delivering, you know, the opinion, but it's, whew, what a morning. So let's start with the bass here. The bass is without a doubt its biggest strength and its biggest weakness. Why? Because this thing's bass is incredible. Like, you would not believe the amount of bass these things have. It's still within audiophile levels, which is something I appreciate. But, oh, do these have a lot of bass. Oh, God. Terrible. Now, this can be a pro or a con, right? And I'm talking about an overall warmth across the entire low end of the spectrum. Like, you're talking sub-bass, mid-bass, everything, right? Sometimes there's a bit of a dip where it's not so warm anymore. But listen, for songs like hip-hop, K-pop, rap, stuff like that, these things are, whew, yeah, these things are amazing. They really bring it out, and they bring out that element in, you know, hip hop and rap and or EDM and stuff that just, you know, you could consider a necessary element of listening to or enjoying a track like that. But now on the flip side, you listen to something like Santana, right? Santana, on the other hand, typically there's a bass guitar in his music, right, in his songs. And that bass guitar is, well, it's not quite in the background per se, but it's more forward than the average bass guitar, which is something I appreciate. And it's intentional so that, you know, you can listen to the bass guitar and appreciate it better. Thank you, Santana. The problem with V-shaped headphones or bass-heavy headphones like these is that then the bass is now so forward and so warm that it just drowns out everything else. Well, in most cases, but not all cases. Again, it's a matter of opinion there. It's a matter of, well, what do you like better in a headphone? What do you like to pop out, or do you prefer something more even, more balanced? I prefer something more balanced, so for me, that's not really a plus side. That's kind of a negative about the headphones. But the bass in the headphones is not quite the cleanest bass I've ever heard, but it's not terrible at all either. It's quite excellent considering, you know, $30 headphone. Forget the pads, just $30 headphone, and they're bass heavy. You know, normally I'd say these like, oh no, like these are gonna be like below level of Beats headphones, right? Even though, I mean, there's not a lot that can be below that, but you'd think, you know, $30 V-shaped headphone made by, you know, dollar store company, they're not gonna be good, right? No, the bass is actually quite clean for what you'd think it is. And yeah, you can definitely appreciate the bass in these. I really like that. Mids. Yeah, they're decent. The mids are decent here. They're not quite forward at all. They're not forward, but they don't get drowned out either. They're just kind of how do you say, neutral per se. Neutral mids there. And what I mean by neutral mids is that, well, like I said, you know, they don't get drowned out, they don't get overpowered by other stuff, except for the bass every now and then. Just in those like more bass-heavy tracks where, well, that's kind of the point of the V-shaped headphone, to emphasize bass and treble. But yeah, the timbre of instruments is a little iffy on these. These are not accurate whatsoever. For example, cellos. The cello sounds super thick and very slow compared to what it's supposed to sound like in real life. And I should know, you know, I'm a cellist. I play the cello. And yeah, it does not sound like a cello in real life. But then again, you're not buying these for the accuracy or for monitoring and stuff. You're buying them because you want something fun and enjoyable. And we'll get to that. Vocals can get a little sharp every now and then with the S and the TH noises, thanks to that treble emphasis, right, in the V shape. Now, the treble's a little interesting here. There's a peak where the cymbals are, like at 3 to 5 kilohertz, something like that. There's a peak, so it brings out the cymbals a little more, and there's that extra silvery thing to it, but it doesn't sound quite as good as other headphones that I've heard, where that, you know, that silvery nature is applied. It just sounds more like, oh, here it is, it's forward. It's forward. It's not so much that it's better or has, you know, better quality to it. It's just, here it is, it's more closer. I brought it closer to you. That's it. So the treble isn't exactly, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's decent. It holds up to justify, you know, the headphone. It does not become a deal breaker whatsoever. Especially when you learn how to listen to, you know, V-shaped headphones, where it's like, yeah, you're gonna have that sibilance. Yeah, you're gonna have to turn it down a bit sometimes, every now and then. But I digress. So what's weird about that spike is it brings the treble forward and then it kind of disappears. And then it just loses that airiness in the upper end. Like there's some air to it, some air, but then it just kind of disappears after a while, right? Soundstage in these, it's actually pretty wide. It's pretty nice for what you're paying here. The soundstage, it's not like massive or anything, but it's certainly pretty wide. And it's better than I expected. Imaging, on the other hand, kind of ruins it. Imaging is just not very good. I mean, there's some imaging, which is, well, you'd expect that in a headphone. That is worth its salt. But the imaging is just not quite so good. It's not pinpoint accurate. It's not, you know, I would not use these for competitive gaming at all, just because they're not that accurate. Casual gaming, I definitely would, because, well, I'll get to that at the end, right? Anyway, so let me conclude here. These are nice as a fun side headphone to have, right? Like, do not make these your main, because, well, they're not accurate, they're not neutral, depends on what you like, of course. And they're certainly not the best thing I've ever heard either. But you know what I can imagine these being a good pair for? let's say you always use open back headphones, right? But then, I don't know, the visits come over, or you know, you have a baby or something and they sleep at night. You put these on instead because they're closed back, and you don't have to like blast your music. You can just put it like relative blast, you know? And yeah, these will isolate, they'll seal, they'll sound pretty decent for those, you know, rare occasions when you can't use an open back headphone. I think these are pretty nice for that. Or let's say an office environment where, well, you can't have an open back headphone, obviously, because you can't bother the others around you. And they actually allow you to wear headphones in an office, which that's really strange. Never really heard of that, but okay. So yeah, then you just bring that. You have your $30 FiO DAC amp setup. You spend a total of like what? $100 for the headphones, the pads, and the DAC amp. And then you just keep that at your desk. And I mean, if they steal it, well, that's on you, but it's not a big loss, you know. It's not like they're stealing your, I don't know, your HD5XX or your Fostex THX100s, stuff like that, where it's a pricier headphone. The downside to this, they're not portable. I already mentioned this because of the wire. And on top of that, it's because these pads, although they fit just fine, I can easily see this like slipping off if you don't handle them with kind of a relative level of care. Like if you're just kind of throwing them in a bag, taking them out like that, then I could see these like slipping off and being an inconvenience and uncomfortable. They don't bend, they don't fold whatsoever, so you're kind of stuck with this, and these are just going to be a pain to lug around. So definitely not portable. That's a downside to me. So I'd use these for casual gaming, right? You can't use a mic with these unless it's a desktop microphone, or you use a mod mic and you attach it to this right here, and you use that as a gaming headset. But I wouldn't really do that. I don't think it's worth the issue. I don't think it's worth the trouble because there might be better options out there at this similar price point, right? So it really depends on your music here. If you listen to more bass heavy stuff, you'll like these. If you listen to more neutral stuff, more acoustic stuff, you'll have troubles liking these. That's where I stand with these. I thought they were decent. I thought, you know, can I afford to waste $60 on this? And then just kind of like them and then bring them out every now and then. Yeah, I can. But I got other things to worry about, other expenditures, or possibly better closed-back headphones that could be more convenient for me, like something portable instead, and then use that as my closed-back option whenever I need it. Anyway, I recommend these, right? I do recommend these, but not wholeheartedly. Like, everybody in the world, go pick up your headphone. This Monoprice Retro is the best thing I ever heard at this price point. Not really. No, it's one of the better things I've heard at this price point, for sure. But, you know what? It's worth a buy. You know, you buy this, you try it out. If you don't like it, you can sell it to someone on a, you know, AV Exchange or headphones or eBay, or just return it. I don't know, it's up to you. But it's worth a listen. You know, if you're kind of considering like, oh man, you know, I got money to spend and I want to waste money on audio, but I don't want to regret my decision the day after. I mean, $60 won't hurt your wallet too badly. And you can definitely keep these like kind of stowed away for whenever you need a closed back headphone at your desk at home or at work and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say I recommend these. These are nice.